Members of the culture, I am Ra and you are here. Welcome back to the channel, folks. I hope this video finds you all very, very well. And as we have said recently, to those affected by the storms that have been plaguing us in the southern and Midwest of the United States, certainly our hearts and thoughts go out with everyone that might be affected. Now, let's get into why we are here. We are here to do a review. And a review of who? None other than Cyborg Superman. Not Hank Henshaw, but the Cyborg Superman from the New 52. We'll go ahead and give you a glamour shot. Look at that, man. That is absolutely awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get into the business here. Folks, as you know from our last review, we did speak at length about changing the review criteria. So we do have new criteria. There are 5 categories now, and those 5 categories are as follows. We still have cool, meaning is it cool to you? And that has to do with the packaging. That has to do you connect with it at first glance, the lore, etc. We talk about articulation, the way you move, baby, right? That's very important. We also talk about price. Is it worth your scratch? Especially nowadays. You guys know what's going on. Then we have display. How do I look, right? So that's very, very important. How does it look next to other figures? How does it look by itself? How does it look in the package, out the package? Because we're primarily, excuse me, can't talk this evening, primarily, as you know, a inbox collecting channel, but we do some reviews of things outside, especially when it is worth your time and your money. Last but not least, accessories. How deep is the bag? All right, so now that you're familiar with those categories, we're going to go ahead and get into a star of today's show, the Cyborg Superman from the New 52. All right, first thing up, we talked about it. Cool. Is it cool? Folks, that's kind of a obvious question to me at this point. I think he's really cool. He does have a chase variant that is the opposite color scheme of what you're looking at there. There's more red with the flesh undertones and such. And he also has much more of the cybernetics showing on that huge arm, which we'll cover a little bit more. But at first glance, it's kind of an obvious, to me, it's a no-brainer. He has a little bit of a kind of a dirty look if you look right there on the chest. And when we do the close-up, we'll obviously talk about that a little bit more. But at our first glance, this is kind of a love at first sight project for us. And so he scored 18 points there. Next thing up, articulation. The way you move, baby, right? When it comes to terms of articulation, here's one of the things about that. That arm, obviously, is really, really cool, and it is single jointed. You can't pose it like you normally do with most DC Multiverse things, but if you look at it, you kind of got to grade it with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? It's something that looks like that is probably not going to be the most well articulated in terms of what you're usually used to. Now, on his opposing arm, that is the typical double jointed with no issues at all, swivel, hinge, rock, all of that good stuff. His feet, now he is kind of hard to pose. Like he has these feet that look almost alien-like, and obviously because he's an alien, I get that point. But I can assure you, folks, he's not the easiest guy to stand up. I'm surprised to be honest with you, he's holding down so well on that actual stand right there. But he's not as movable as, he's not as well articulated as the others. He's kind of a bigger, heavier figure. He stands about 7'3", 7.3 inches on the scale when we measured him earlier. So articulation, although it's great, it'll actually work in his benefit later when we cover our last topic. But for just basic articulation, yeah, you'll find that he's going to be a little bit tougher. So he scored 10 points there. Next up is price. Is it worth your scratch? Now, he's widely kind of available now. He was tough at the beginning. He was nowhere near as tough as Icon. I mean, if you've seen our previous video on that, you know what a struggle that was. But he was readily available, I think, kind of when you got him. There was a little bit of a lull after he first launched where he became a little difficult. He is still available on second market like eBay and Mercari. And the prices don't tend to get too out of hand. They're a little bit higher. Chase variant, yeah, can be, especially if it is still inbox sealed, never been opened or anything. He's north of about $50 there if you find him on there. You can $50-$60. I've seen some going for $100. Good luck with that. I mean, he is kind of rare, but still, all in all, he is, I would say his price is fair. So he scored 15 points there. Next up, display. How does he look? Here's what we kind of talked about earlier with display. At first glance, just looking at him, in and out the package, fantastic. You can put him in some great poses, folks, believe it or not, despite the limits on his articulation. That claw hand comes into great effect with some pictures. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I want to say on our TikTok, you can go look. And Instagram, we did do a kind of a photo shoot with him and Icon, and he did a fantastic job with just still pictures. Now, it wasn't easy, right, because of the articulation issues that we highlighted earlier. That was a little bit tough, but with that display, he didn't, like I said, he did not do so bad. He got 15 points on his displaying ability, right? Last but not least is accessories. How deep is the bag? Well, when it turns in terms of the bag here with him. He does only come with a flight stand, right? Now, obviously, because of his arm, you're not going to get a different set of hands, although I kind of wonder if they could have. But, you know, obviously, I guess you couldn't put a hand on there. But I think on this one right here, that fist, you absolutely could have given him another fist. Another head sculpt would not have been bad to have. He comes with a flight stand, so that's cool. But I would have liked to seen something else. So for accessories, he was able to score 10 points. Altogether, Cyborg Superman scores 68 points, so that's not bad at all. That is absolutely worth a purchase. If you can find him, I would say definitely go out and purchase him. Absolutely. This is a fire figure. Really, really cool. We're about to do his close-up, but yeah, he scores 68 points. Definitely worth your money. So when we get a closer look at him, take him off of the stand. See if it'll focus on his head. All right, he's got those red eyes, right? Really, really cool. There's that hand that is evil. I like it. A lot of people complain about it. Now, like I said, it does kind of affect the articulation on him, but it is a cool look for me. Notice he looks kind of dirty and dingy right here, and I promise you, that is how he looks in the package. I did not throw dirt on him like this wash. I think he is meant to look that way. On his Chase variant, it's a little cleaner than this. It's a little bit different of a wash, and it's a little cleaner. But yeah, he's meant to look this way. But if you look at the head, I mean, look at that. I mean, he is really, that head is something else, folks. I mean, and it does articulate. I mean, he looks down. Remember how we talked we talked about Icon earlier. Icon lacked that on the articulation point. So his head is definitely better on articulation than Icon's is, but Icon beats him when it comes in terms of moving everywhere else. It's like you see if you look at him, he's just got this weird look to him, but it's all part of the character lore. But trust me, he like trying to get these feet. Look at these feet. Trying to get this thing to stand right here. It can be a little bit of a challenge. Now, he comes with a flight stand, and the crazy part is this figure, you can't tell, is kind of heavy. So even on that flight stand, because of his waist, it does not really grip him like it should. But it kind of supports him. But most of those things, you know, they kind of do this, right? Click around and hold in place. Because of how he's made right here, it has a little bit of difficulty doing that. So you will find when you're moving, and then of course the weight, because he is a little heavier, it can be kind of tough to get him there. But if you can, the poses are great because he is kind of naturally stiff, and I think that actually helps him in the long run, right? He is, you know, fairly, like I said, fairly well articulated. Some right here. I mean, in the areas that matter, he is. Overall, yeah, it's tough. If you're used to a typical McFarlane DC Multiverse figure, the articulation, we all know the 22 points, and it's fantastic. You'll find that with him, everywhere else is good. I mean, he does have the regular articulation except with the arm. So if you're trying to get him in certain poses, this arm, although I think is his best feature, it's a double-edged sword because it can be a hindrance too, because you're used to double jointed and moving around, right? So you have the butterfly ring is there so that you don't have that gap, and it does cover. All that's there, but you will find that this hand, and because of the length of it too, right? I mean, if you look here at his arm, and then look, I mean, that's gonna, for some poses, that's gonna be difficult, right? But you can maneuver around it. It's just kind of how he is. But as a whole, an absolutely awesome figure once you get used to moving around. Now, a flight stand, I told you, because of how much he weighs, the flight stand is gonna bother you. I promise you, folks, it's gonna bother you until you learn how to do it. I'm going to try to sit him down back up here, although we'll see how well. Let me last talk on the cape. Now, this cape works for him. As you know, we're big fans of a wired soft goods cape. That's what we like. But for him, this works. Like you see, it's kind of battle damaged because he's been on the fights and it's torn and tattered. So for Cyborg Superman, this actually works. I don't necessarily know in the case of him that a wired soft goods cape would really make the most sense. I think he's actually better with this type of a cape, right? So I wouldn't hold that against him in the case of this figure. But Cyborg Superman is definitely a wonderful figure, totally worth your money. Again, scoring 68 points. We will be doing re-reviews of the figures that we already did since we've changed the scale. That would only be right. So you'll be looking out for those. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and watching this review. Please, please, please continue to like, share, subscribe, and comment. What do you think about these figures? Icon, what did you think about Cyborg Superman? Do you have this figure? Do you like this figure? Sound off in the comments because we want to hear your opinions too. Without you, there is no us. And as you know, we do everything for the culture. Please check out that photo shoot we did, as I said, on our Instagram channel and TikTok. I think they're both I think it's on both of those. That Instagram is The Great Raw Forever. We are on X at The Great Raw Forever. TikTok and YouTube, both The Great Raw. So please, 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 folks, check that out. We put some time into that, and we definitely want to hear your opinions on that. We got another video dropping here soon. I'm not really sure who's up next. I know the Turtles are coming. A lot of people want to see that. But we will be dropping some more shorts. And of course, TikTok. That's where we're most active. So be on the lookout. There's 3 videos on TikTok that drop tomorrow. And then, of course, you've got some more. I think we've got a review coming Saturday, but we'll see how things go down. But until then, folks, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please, please, please check us out. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being members of the culture. And until we meet again, please stay great.